over on defense, projecting ahead to the 2026 season. And we're also going to talk a little linebacker here early on. I want to give everybody a shout out in the chat. Appreciate y'all jumping in here and making us a part of your evening. And if you would, go vote real quick over on YouTube. You're already here in YouTube, or you can vote on X. We've got a poll question up for tonight's show that's going to kind of lead off with the topic, and then hopefully by the time we get through with this first topic, we'll get an idea of how everyone feels. The poll question is, which linebacker would you rather play the 4-3 alongside Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper? So let's just assume both of those guys are healthy week one. And in your nickel 4-2-5, it's going to be Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper. When you go to your base 4-3, which should probably be somewhere around 25 to 30% of the snaps, which stack backer would you like to play alongside them? Would you rather have Isaiah McDuffie, Isaiah Simmons, Colin Oliver, or Tyron Hopper? Again, that is up on X. If you're here on X, just go to my Twitter account. It should be right there at the top where we just tweeted it out. And then you can also find that right here on YouTube. We got a lot of votes already coming in. Appreciate everybody contributing to that. I just want to kind of get a feel for how the fans feel about, that linebacker position. And one person we did leave off was Christian Welch. They only give you 4 options on YouTube and Twitter. So the reason I left Christian Welch off, Goody cut him last year, right? I have a hard time believing they picked him back up. I have a hard time believing that he's just all of a sudden going to soar to the number 3 linebacker. You know what I mean? So that's not a knock against Christian Welch. You guys know I was leading the charge in his fan club last year. And when they cut him, I was as surprised as anyone. I thought he had a really good preseason, did everything he needed to do to potentially make the roster. But again, that's why we left him off. And if you think it should be him, just comment that, and we'll just kind of go with it like that. So let's jump into the first topic here. This was a question on YouTube. I thought it was awesome. This came in from Mr. Jass, first name Hugh. You guys can put it together there. He said, Clay, when there's motion from a tight end to the other side of the line, does that change the weak side and strong side backers are? I think he's saying, does that change who the weak side and strong side backers are? Or do the backers usually switch sides when that happens? This is how I would answer that question, Mr. Jass, a.k.a. Hugh. So it depends on a multitude of things. It depends on what's the specific play call for that play there defensively. What is the play call? Is it man coverage? Is it cover one hole? Is it cover 2 man? Right? All those things come into play. If it's like 2 man under or not. It could be, a cover 1 mock fire. It could be a cover 1 will fire. In that case, it doesn't matter if that guy motions over. They most likely will still blitz the guy that was originally designed to blitz. However, there might be something on that occasion that they don't like the way the run fit shakes out in that regard. So they'll just go ahead and flip it and say, okay, once he motions over, you may see him, the mock backer. Like if it's a strong right look and the mock is on the right, from the offense's perspective, then they may motion over and you see the mock point to the will and he's letting the will know, hey, you pick him up, I'll fire now. We have seen that happen before. If it's a zone call, right? If it's a zone call, it may stay the same, right? And what I mean by that is, if both inside linebackers, let's assume it's a nickel 4-2-5, and they're both just going to play what we call a hook curl, just kind of a mid zone underneath, right? If that's their play call, it's not going to change anything. So there's no reason for that guy to follow him, right? Because it's not man coverage. Just, hey, let's just stick to our zones here. Now, when you talk about schematically, you may go into a week of preparation and you'll be playing someone like, say, the San Francisco 49ers, and they've got obviously arguably one of the best tight ends in the history of the game in George Kittle. You may have went in that week and game plan for George Kittle and the 49ers and said, you know what? Quay gives us the best shot of covering George Kittle on the specific routes that he runs, right? Or they may think that Edgerrin would give you the best opportunity to be successful in that regard. So if that's the case, then you'll probably will see them switch. Like if he's in a strong right look and he motions over and the game plan was for Edgerrin Cooper to kind of cover him, even if you're in a zone defense, it might be a Tampa 2 call where the mock, who would be over the tight end in a nickel 4-2-5 look, it would be his responsibility to cover the seam, that deep mid 2 seam, essentially. So if that's the case, then you may see him flip and him follow him over. right? If it's an underneath hook curl, I doubt they would. Now, if you see them running a lot of combination routes to where that tight end is running an out route, it might be something where they just stay in the same exact spot because they know, look, they're going to pepper us with a lot of 10, 12, 14-yard out routes with George Kittle. We know we're just going to pass that off. So we're not as worried about that. So there may be something specifically in the game plan that would suggest, hey, only in these 2 or 3 scenarios will you guys actually switch. Also, and this is why it's a long-winded answer, you may have some defensive coordinators that like both stack backers and just say, hey, you guys sift that out, meaning you make the decision. So now that's where communication comes in handy, right? So that's how I would answer that question. Again, it's not as cut and dry as, hey, if a tight end motion's over, who's going to continue to play Mike? Who's going to continue to play Will? It depends on the specific play call first and foremost. And then there's probably some specific game planning schematically throughout the week, depending on your opponent. If it's a team that's got a tight end that's not what we refer to as a Tuesday player, and what I mean by that, that's something I didn't make up. That was coined by Bill Belichick, and I'm sure it came from Bill Walsh and on down the tree. But a Tuesday player is someone that the coaching staff has to plan for, and they'll waste most of their Tuesday putting a game plan together to stop that specific player, whether it's on offense or defense. Let me give you an example. On offense, let's say George Kittle is that Tuesday player. Then you may design, specific play calls and adjustments to make sure you're taking away his 2, 3, maybe 4 routes that he runs the most, first and foremost, and maybe the top 2 that he's most effective at, right? That's a Tuesday player. You're specifically game planning to stop that one guy. Doesn't mean you're not keyed in on other aspects, but that's the main focal point. Now, you can have a Tuesday player on defense. It might be an edge defender that you go, hey, like Rashawn Gary, this is what Greg Cosell says about Rashawn Gary. You watch Rashawn Gary's film, and you could tell how valuable he is when you see how much attention he garners in terms of chips and double teams and things like that. Mostly chips, not double teams, because we'll line him up in a wide 7 or a wide 9, and it's impossible for the guard to double team Gary on the outside. So that's why you typically have a tight end lined up over there to chip, blast him back into the tackle, or have a running back help chip before they might leak out of the backfield as well. So that's what you refer to as a Tuesday player on defense, So just a number of different ways that you can answer that question. That's how I would answer it. Is there's a lot of factors that come into play. So if you don't have a Tuesday player, then you might just completely disregard it and say, you know what, even when we're in man coverage, when that tight end motion's over, if it's a tight end that we would consider backup quality or bottom third of the league quality, you go, okay, we're not worried about it. Then what you probably have is the mock, just pass him off to the wheel. But it's another, again, it's a long-winded answer, but depends on what hash they're on too. If they're on the left hash, so the boundary side is to the offense's left, and they motion the tight end over there, they may feel more comfortable putting the wheel over there on him and letting the mock cheat up on the line of scrimmage to help solidify the run gap feel, right? If they're motioning him from the boundary side, which is the short side of the field, to the field side, the large side of the field, meaning you're on the left hash and you motion him to the field side, then they may approach it differently. So it's definitely not as cut and dry as that. And that's why you'll hear me say over and over and over on this particular show that in today's modern day NFL, you can tell when people don't know what they're talking about when they mention the Sam and they describe the Sam backer as if it's still 1994. Like, oh yeah, that's a guy that's gonna cover the tight end and he's gonna play in the run fit. That's typically not what a Sam's doing in the in modern day football, right? It's changed a lot since the 90s. But that's why we say in a nickel defense, those 2 inside linebackers, you may have one wearing the green dot, and typically people see that green dot and they go, that's the mock. Not necessarily. The mock will line up on the strong side of the formation, and he is the guy who's typically going to cover the tight end in a nickel defense. In the 90s, the Sam would have to be versatile enough to cover the tight end, but in today's modern football, they will cheat the mock over him, and it doesn't mean the Sam won't cover him at all times, but that's typically how that'll go as well. So hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Jass. I'm glad you asked it because I love those type of questions. And again, in the nickel 4-2-5, the mock and the wheel are very, very interchangeable in today's football. That's why when you look at Edgerrin Cooper and you look at Quay Walker, they kind of look like hybrids of each other, right? Like, or not hybrids, but like clones of each other. They're both very physical. They're taller in stature. They got all the athletic traits, right? You look at those two guys, and then you look at, like, say, an Isaiah McDuffie or Tyron Hopper or someone like that, and you could tell they're just built a little different. That's why I feel like when you're building a roster, you got your mock types, and I feel like both Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker fit that mock build. And then you got your Will types and your Sam types. And those are like your Tyron Hoppers, your Thumpers, right? Your Tyron Hopper, your Isaiah McDuffie, folks like that. Now, Isaiah Simmons is very interesting because I feel like he would fit a little more of the mold of Quay and Edgerrin Cooper, just being that athletic freak. And it seems like he's a little taller. Somebody help me out in the chat. How tall is Isaiah Simmons? So I don't have to Google it and give you guys dead air. I would love to know how tall he is, because I feel like he's probably a little bit taller than most linebackers in terms of stack backers in the 4-3. That makes sense. So 6'4", bing. There. Thank you, Daryl. Bates got it too there. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but that's almost identical. I know Quay's 6'4", but I think Edgerrin Cooper's 6'4" as well. He might be 6'3", but anyone who's over that 6'1" mark, when you get to 6'2", those are kind of fit to be mock backers that we know are interchangeable in the nickel 4-2-5. So there you go. Appreciate you guys looking that up for me. Thank you so much, and thank you to Mr. Jass for that question. Let's get back to the poll question real quick. I'm going to pull up here on the screen how X seen this poll question that we asked at the start of the show, and we'll hit refresh. I think we've already got looks like we already, well, all right, here we go. I'm sure we got some protests going on the old Twitterverse here. So let me scroll down and get back to the poll question that we did tweet out and try to get it on the screen for you guys and gals. Here we go. I don't know about you guys, but I'm about tired of seeing the news feed today where it's just everybody being divisive. It gets annoying. All right. Which linebacker would you rather play in the 4-3 alongside Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper? Isaiah Simmons. And granted, there's only 46 votes on X so far. We just now tweeted it out less than an hour ago, actually about 15 minutes ago. Isaiah Simmons, 63% of the votes. It just shifted to 60% as we're getting real-time feedback here. Isaiah McDuffie is second at 22%. Tyron Hopper is third at 16%. And then bringing up the rear there is Colin Oliver at only 2%. So it seems like the majority of the fan base on Twitter, granted, small sample size, only 50 votes, thinks it's going to be Isaiah Simmons, or they would prefer it be Isaiah Simmons. I'm sure it's not a prediction on their part. And then when we go over to the YouTube stream, 59% say Isaiah Simmons. It just jumped back up to 61% says Isaiah Simmons. Tyron Hopper is 27%. Colin Oliver is 9%. Isaiah McDuffie is 3%. I love doing these poll questions side by side because I feel like our YouTube viewers, the people that are in here regularly, see things, most of the time they see things a little bit different than just the Packer fans on X. So the big difference there is they both agree they would like to see Isaiah Simmons play alongside Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper in that base 4-3. However, the difference between the two is on YouTube, everybody wants Tyron Hopper second most, as where on X they want Isaiah McDuffie second most. So there you go. I like to do those exercises just to kind of get an idea of where the fan base is with questions like that, and just kind of see how everything